Okay, and welcome. A session called From Vision to Innovation Engine, Making Hybrid Work. Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Etoff. I'm Associate Director of Partnerships here at MURAL, and I am so excited to be here with the one and only Jim Callback, our Chief Evangelist at MURAL. Hi, Jim. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Hey, Lindsay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the session. My name is Jim Callback. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Mural. Looking forward to talking to you about hybrid.
I've had the pleasure with working with Jim for some time, but this is actually, I think, our first um, session that we're getting to host with people. So I'm really excited, and especially with the topic area.
It should
That
be fun. It's going to be fun, Lindsay.
it has to be fun because it's hybrid, and hybrid is an experience. So Jim, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what hybrid means and what it is, and a little bit also why it's hard.
Yeah, sure. So hybrid can mean a lot of different things to different people. You can talk about a hybrid work policy or a hybrid employee. When we talk about hybrid here at Mural, we're really looking at the mode of collaboration. So we're talking about hybrid collaboration. And that's really characterized by a group of people, a subset of people collaborating who are physically located, that is, they're in the same location, and then people who are remote. And the reason why that's really hard is because you get kind of two different mindsets. You get this mindset that we are here, the people who are together in a room face to face, that they talk at a different pace, they react and they interact with each other in a different way than the remote team can interact with itself and also within that group as well too. Basically, the big challenge here, Lindsay, is that there's an imbalance in communication. That you have half of your team is communicating in one mode, and the other half of the team, the remote half, is communicating in another mode. And we're trying to use technology to mediate that and to make that easier.
And make it easier and mediate, and that makes me think about experiences. We're trying to figure out how to simulate being together almost,
Right.
and being able to communicate and understand each other, because like we were talking about at the beginning, the name of the session, it's not just doing hybrid, it's doing hybrid well so that you can still be innovative. And I know that, like, when we were kind of preparing for this conversation, that was one of the most important things for us, because it's not like hybrid's new, but it's hard, and especially to do it thoughtfully and well and with the most productive results possible.
Absolutely. And, just before we move on, a really good point. Hybrid is not new. In fact, it was the predominant mode of communication in our corporations, in our enterprises before the pandemic. I think what's changed, and you hit the nail right on the head, is post-pandemic, when we start reopening our offices and going back, we can't go back to the old way because it wasn't good. And it sacrificed inclusion. It sacrificed voices from the remote teams, and that has an impact on innovation and your creativity overall as a company.
And you mentioned that to work with this imbalance, we think about technologies. And so I'm really excited about, because especially coming from the partnership side of Mural, we've invested heavily in our partnership with Microsoft. And there's a couple really interesting reasons as to why. And it's because a lot of companies that we work with and talk to, they think about Microsoft Teams as the operating system for teamwork. It's where you live, it's where you work, it's where you get a lot of your different teamwork, collaboration, interaction, visual, audio, chat, and that's where people work. What's really interesting with Mural inside of Teams is that a lot of teams, where they're thinking about Teams as the operating system for how they work, they're thinking about Mural as the visual collaboration system of record. And they fit really nicely together. We're working with a lot of different teams that now, with Mural inside of Teams, they can work where they work, but also in a visual collaborative manner. And they're getting more value out of both of the products, because using them together, you can create an experience. Hybrid itself is an experience. And I know that you and I talked about this a bit, and I'm very passionate about this, so I'm going to give my little spiel and then we can talk about it. Is that hybrid? It's an experience, and Teams and Mural can be the two vehicles to help drive that experience. And with them seamlessly integrated together, you have a better experience. We work, and the nature of how we work is asynchronously. So when we're not together, and synchronously when we're together. And the combination of those two is our overall work experience. We've spoken and you've written about, we have our kind of ebook that we have with Mural we've always kind of talked about, before, during, and after. Before an interaction, whether it's a workshop, meeting, summit, one-on-one conversation, then there's the during, there's the together time, and there's the after. And designing a hybrid experience, we're really trying to be intentional about how we collaborate in those different instances and how we work asynchronously and synchronously, then powered by Mural and Teams.
Yeah, exactly. And I think during the pandemic, the how we collaborated during the pandemic became very apparent to everybody. Oh, how we collaborate is now different. I think we have to take some of that learnings that we gained during the pandemic and bring that back into the post-pandemic world. And I love the word design, to think about a collaboration as a design exercise. And, Teams and Mural, those are the tools with which you're designing that experience.
And you know nothing about designing an experience mapping, shameless little plug. But so with the themes and ideas of productivity and innovation and thinking about this kind of design structure, almost about the hybrid experience, I know that you and I kind of talked about, we can talk theory, but also it's really exciting to hear about tactical things that people can do. I know at the beginning of the pandemic, we were talking about, how do I use my different screens? Let alone the two technologies, also your hardware and things like that as well, to create an experience. So I know that so if we're thinking about our before, during, and after framework, what are some different things that people can do before? I know we've always talked about pre-work. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, there's this funny phrase here on the mug. I survived another meeting that could have been an email. I think, that's humorous, but I think the intent there is, again, to be very deliberate about what parts of our collaboration can we offload to asynchronous modes of collaboration, right? So one of the keys to solving hybrid is to actually not just go into this default mode of anytime I collaborate with my team, we're together synchronously at the same time, but rather what parts can we do asynchronously? And by asynchronously, we mean you're doing that at your own pace apart, right? So thinking about pre-work and just even taking an inventory of the types of interactions that you have and saying, well, what can I do apart from each other? I'll give you an example, Lindsay. Things like info shares. If I'm just reading off bullet points from, a deck, well, maybe we can do that independently, and I can create a video of me talking, or I can send around the deck in advance, and actually do some of that just kind of transferring of information. You don't have to be synchronous. You don't have to be on a call together to do that type of information, information sharing. So think about what kind of pre-work can you do, I think is really the first recommendation here. And I know that Teams, again, the seamless integration allows you to do that really easily.
Yeah, there's a couple different spots as well. We have some screenshots right here, but you can work in the personal app of Mural inside of Teams. So that's just like you're talking about pre-work. I can actually build the Mural, design a pre-work activity, or maybe use one of the Mural templates and do that in the personal app. Really great. Then I can also say that you and I want to share the pre-work with you before we have a one-on-one. I can then send that to you and add it as a tab to our chat in Teams as well. So there's all these kind of interesting ways in which you can do these methods in the two technologies integrated to create a really, really great experience. Also, I know that we kind of talked about before from a before perspective, but you can also do this at the beginning of a meeting as well, is around doing check-ins. So we talked a little bit about pre-work, and then we talked a bit about the personal app, the chat. You can also see here that you can add Mural as a tab to a channel inside of a team. So there's Teams, and then in Team you have a channel, and you can add Mural as a tab. So you can actually add as a tab to a channel of multiple people and do an activity like a check-in, whether it's, before. I know that a lot of times that we do this right at the first couple minutes of say a meeting.
Yeah, and I think that becomes even more important in hybrid settings, right? Because again, you have some people who are face to face, maybe in a conference room, sitting around a star phone kind of situation, and some folks that are remote. If you've ever been that remote person, sometimes you don't even know who's in the room, right? So something as simple as a check-in, it only takes 2 minutes, Lindsay, to do a check-in. It's kind of a roll call. Who's present at the meeting? And just taking a couple of minutes to say, who's here and how are we feeling today? In the case of which Nick are you? We call this pick your Nick here at Mural, where you have these 9 Nicolas Cage characters. You add your name to a sticky note, and you do this even if you're in the room. This isn't just for the remote team. This is everybody. You add your name to a sticky note, and then you declare how you're doing today based on Nicolas Cage characters. Takes about 2 minutes. You get a roll call of everybody who's present, but B, you also have a little bit of fun. You open up the conversation. You can get people talking across the remote and the hybrid setting as well too, with something as simple as a check-in.
And you said a couple of things there. It can be fun. You can. Yeah. It's okay to enjoy it, and it's also there's a level of empathy required from in the hybrid experience perspective, and this also helps get everybody on the same plane almost of understanding. And I like what you said too, is it doesn't take that long. Like you can include these things. I know that we always say practice, so try it out before you do it during a meeting, and you can like find someone that you want to try it with. But it doesn't, these things don't take long, but can have high impact, I guess.
Totally. And that imbalance that I talked about, something like a check-in like this, you're doing it in Mural, maybe with inside of Teams, it's level setting, because it doesn't matter where you could be on your mobile phone on a train in Australia, and you'd have the same amount of participation in this check-in as somebody who's sitting physically at the headquarters as well too. So it gets rid of some of that imbalance to do these types of things, and to do them visually as well too.
Agreed. And so there's a lot of things you can do before, but then you can also do a handful of things during as well. So we talked a little bit about the personal app. We talked a bit about chat and channel, and where you can where Mural integrates into Teams there. I think that one of the most exciting things, and we have 2 kind of example like of how you can use it during, but I think that this is there's this one and then the next, but what's really kind of, I think, one of the most exciting things that we launched this year with Teams is the embed of the live of Mural in a live video meeting, because we enable to have a more productive time together when we do things like pre-work and check-ins and things like that. But this is like the meat, right? The actually the coming together moment, and being able to use Mural embedded into the live meeting of Teams, and being able to edit and contribute and think visually together, I think is super important. So tell me a little bit about regulating turn taking.
Yeah, well, I think we've all experienced on remote calls that turn taking can be awkward at times, where nobody talks and there's a big pause, or 5 people talk at the same time. So we have this little technique called popcorning, where if you want to take turns, what you do is the last person that goes picks the next person. And here with the live video meeting, you can see the participants in a list, or look at their video cameras and pick the next person. Now, when we go to a hybrid setting, and that works really well when everybody's all remote, but when you're in hybrid setting, we've actually added a twist to popcorning. We call it ping ponging, where if I go and I'm remote, I have to pick somebody who's in the room, who's physically located together. They go next, and then they have to pick somebody who's remote. Again, that imbalance in the in-person, you're going back and forth. So that imbalance between the 2 different modes of collaboration becomes less with something like ping pong. And it's really about being intentional. These are those little moments of intentionality, Lindsay, that we talked about.
And it's really interesting, and because it's intentionally recognizing that everybody is in a different potentially environment. It doesn't have to be a secret. They're like, oh, there's people in the room. There's people not, and it's like the concept of the buddy system in this way. Super interesting. Thank you for sharing that. What about other items for during? And of course, we wouldn't be Mural if we weren't talking about working visually.
Yeah, I mean, I think, adding the visual component to your collaboration, right? You got the voice, you got the audio, you got the chat, you might have access to the same documents, but really adding that visual component can really change the way that you interact with one another. It can change your techniques and your methods. We took something as simple as a stand-up, right? Something you might do on a daily or weekly basis. In this example there on the left, this was a weekly stand-up that we did with the team. And we used something called What's on Your Radar, where instead of going around person by person, what we did was everybody put their tasks for the week on a radar, and the things that were most important went towards the center. So that when we, and you can do that asynchronously, by the way, before you get to the meeting, you can fill that out. So that when you come together, yeah, exactly. And then when you come together, you're just talking about that center piece. What's the most, for our group here that's meeting, what are the most important things that everybody has on their plate? If you have time, you can move out to the middle ring and then the outer ring. But we found that once you go over the most important things, you kind of get a sense, you talked about empathy a little bit, Lindsay. You kind of get a sense of, who's struggling, who needs help. And you get those conversations that, oh, let's take this offline. I can help you with that task, right? But it's really a nice prioritized and focused way to take a group of people, even up to 20 people, and really get to what's going on with that team in terms of a stand-up, and doing that visually as well, too. So the color coding on here, I should mention, Lindsay, the different colors of the sticky notes there, those are different people as well, too.
Right.
I can see lots of different things here. There's lots of different dimensions that when you visualize your work, you can see things from different angles because it's visual.
Visual kind of grouping together, and also using color and as to create this is almost like a little bit of a heat map, which is exactly super interesting, because then and using this example is it highlights the power of the before, right? And because you can pre-populate this, because we know where we're going,
right? Because
especially if you're doing this in a consistent way, then you're using the time together to talk about the highest priority, and then after you can then continue the conversation. Right. You can have comments and things like that. And you can also, for that example you're using, you can add that as a tab to your channel.
Yep.
And then have conversations about the mural in the posts in like a team. Correct. Or do comments inside of the mural to talk about different areas.
Correct. So now think about somebody
still lives.
Exactly. And you have all those options. And think about somebody who maybe missed that stand-up, right? If you ever miss a stand-up, it's really hard to recreate that. If you've done that visually, and let's say I had to miss it because of, I was out or because I had a conflict, I can just zoom in and read that inner circle, and I have a quick summary of my stand-up, and it's going to make sense to me as well, too, because I'm going to see that really quickly. So you can keep the conversation going, right? So you want to get started before you get started, but you also want to keep the conversation going as well, too, and kind of flatten out that interaction so that you do what we call maximizing your together time. You want to maximize that together time. So you're not spending hours and hours going one by one over what everybody's doing. You want to get that kind of concentrated effect of the team meeting.
Beautiful. We're talking before and during and after, some tactical examples of how you can of things you can do with Mural, and then also highlighting where you can do that inside of Teams. Again, like that idea of Teams being the operating system and Mural being the visual collaboration system of record, which ties exactly to what you were just saying about that last idea. Yeah. And I think it's just in general, just thinking digital first. And I know these are some images that we have a blog post out about, a meetup that we did where we were using the Surface hubs. So, like we were mentioning before, it's the hybrid experience also includes different devices and technology as well. And I know that that's something that a lot of people are really thinking about and investing time and money into, right?
Yeah. And, we talked about designing an experience before, during, and after. I think it brings a little bit of creativity, not just intentionality, but also creativity, and thinking about what are tools that I can use, Microsoft Teams and Mural, but also things like the Microsoft Surface Hub and other devices. What's at your disposal to make that experience meaningful and rich for everybody involved? It's really about understanding what's the outcome that you want,
right?
And then thinking about how you can creatively get there. My belief is that our current tool set actually allows us to do more than most teams are doing. That if you add imagination to your tool set, you're gonna have great meetings. Whether they're hybrid, remote, or in person, doesn't matter.
And that's going from the perspective, like what we were talking about at the beginning, is hybrid as an experience. Hybrid, how can we do it well
Right.
instead of just doing it? You know, how do we do it well so that we can make sure that we continue to innovate, that we can make sure that we're creative, because that's where progress comes from. That's where incremental change and improvement also comes from a
Absolutely. And you can do it in a way that's inclusive, that gets to that imbalance so that everybody has a voice. You want diverse perspectives. When you're talking about innovation, you want diverse perspectives involved. And it can be just fun and making people happier at work in general.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
All possible.
It's all possible, right? It's just
Yeah,
it's trying it out and
exactly.
practicing, and
Totally.
what I think is really exciting for us here at Mural as well is that we're really excited where we got with Mural inside of Teams. That was a big focus for us. There was investment from both the Mural and Microsoft side into this joint roadmap to elevate the seamless experience of Mural inside of Teams. And we are definitely looking forward towards the future. We have a lot of different things in our roadmap of the rest of the Microsoft ecosystem, and where we can also get impact for our mutual customers of using Mural in other spots outside of Teams as well, but in different Microsoft locations. So a lot coming soon from the Mural team from that perspective. But this went really quickly, and I think we're up on time. So I think I love talking about these topics, especially you and I, Jim, because I don't know, we both agree it's not a burden.
Yeah.
Hybrid's not a burden. It's a true opportunity. And if we can think about how to reimagine and innovate how we collaborate, like that's what this is all about.
I agree. And, you know, we talked to some companies, and, you know, they're approaching hybrid as if it's just, you know, just a pain point that they have to kind of overcome. I actually think that the goal should be to how do we supercharge our innovation efforts? How could this combination, not just a combination of technologies, but techniques, we talked about techniques as well too, and teams, how do you bring people together, right? Teams, tools, and techniques to really make hybrid and this post-pandemic world that we're going to be heading into, how can we make that an opportunity to actually supercharge innovation moving forward?
Well, let's do it.
All right.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Jim. This was a blast. And as always, if anybody ever has any questions, please reach out to the Mural team. We are here to support you, and we are so excited about what we have and what's coming in the future with Mural plus Microsoft.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. A little confetti.